Good evening, and welcome to our 2021 Board of Education debate. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the Robert C. Duncan NAACP Youth Council. Thank you all for making the time to view this very important debate, which allows you to gain insight on the candidates who will soon be making the decisions for your child's education and the Norwich Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. Before we get started, I'm Joanne Moore from the League of Women Voters of Southeastern Connecticut. And before we get started this evening, I have an announcement to make about another issue that's going to be on the ballot next week on November 2nd. In that, I have this message from the City Treasurer. On Wednesday, October 27th at 1:00 p.m., our City Manager, John Solomon, City Controller, Josh Pothier, and City Treasurer, Mike Gualtieri, will be appearing on WICH Radio, that's 1310 on your AM dial, with Stu Breyer. And they're going to discuss the importance of the $145 million pension obligation bond issue, which will appear in the ballot on November 2nd. Please tune in to see how the city can save $45 million. So that's Wednesday, October 27th, and WICH 1310 on your AM dial. And now on with this evening's headline. As a member of the League of Women Voters, it's a pleasure to welcome you here tonight for a debate among the candidates for the Board of Education. Much appreciation for this evening goes to the maintenance staff here at NFA for helping to set up the space. And I'd like to thank the Robert Stein Duncan NAACP Youth Council for being our timers this evening, and their advisor, Ms. Sheila Hayes, for her leadership in this exercise in democracy. The order for questions has been determined ahead of time, and the timers will hold up signs indicating to the candidates when they have 30 seconds and 15 seconds left, and then a stop sign so that they know when their time is up. Each candidate is given equal time over the course of the 90 minutes. Each candidate will be given 60 seconds for an opening statement and 60 seconds for a closing statement. Concerning recordings of this, it's being recorded, and thank you very much. We ask that if it's broadcast in its entirety and not used for small sound bites in ads. Thank you in advance for listening and participating in this event to strengthen our democracy. And it's now my pleasure to introduce the candidates for the Board of Education for the Norwich Public Schools. And the first question goes to Ms. DeStasio, and the first question is, who are you and why are you a good candidate for the Board of Education? So, Ms. DeStasio, would you start your 60 seconds, please?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. As a lifelong resident of Norwich, I am myself a product of the Norwich Public Schools in this wonderful school where we are seated tonight. And I believe this gives me a vested commitment in the community, having been here all my life. I also have a bachelor's degree in sociology and applied social relations, which I believe gives me a perspective on what it takes to raise a child and to school a child. I'm not saying I'm an expert at it, but I feel that that gives me a perspective when we are addressing issues. My work experience at Norwich Technical High School for 20 years, I also became very informed as to the intricate runnings of a school and what it takes, and also during the construction of that school. And also, I am running for re-election, so my prior experience on the seat gives me experience also. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels.
Aaron Al Daniels, thank you again for allowing us to be here this evening. And the reason I am running again for my 7th term is that I still believe there's work that I can do. And with your support, we can get it done. You've been with me through some ups and downs here in the Norwich public school system. And in the last few years, we've seen some things turning in the right direction. I'd like to see them through to the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nocera?
Good evening, I'm Bennett Nocera. I am a school social worker at the charter school here in Norwich. I am running for my 1st term. I am really excited to be a part of this debate tonight. The biggest thing why I'm joining the Board of Ed is because I've seen the profound impact that COVID-19 has had on our students and families and teachers and just the community at large. And so as a social worker, I want to kind of expand programs and bring back Norwich to what it was, which is a fantastic, wonderful, awesome community to live in. And I am really excited to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aldai?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Aldai. I'm a lifelong resident also of Norwich and a graduate of Norwich Free Academy, the great class of 1974. I am a prior member of the Board of Education, serving from 2012 to 2019. I took 2 years off as a hiatus to help my wife in our growing family. I too share the same sentiments as Mr. Daniels. Served with him for all 7 years on the board, and I too want to continue the good work that has been shown here, in our community, and going forth to continue and foster the same relationship with our citizens and our children. Children first. Children are our priority. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Charmelis?
Greg Perry.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Perry.
Hi, I am Greg Perry, and I am also a lifelong resident of Norwich, a graduate of the Norwich Public School Systems and Norwich Free Academy. I've been a teacher for 17 years, I've been a parent for 12 years, and I've been a resident of this town for my whole life. So I have a number of different perspectives that I'm going to be bringing to this position. That of a parent, that of a teacher, that of a taxpayer, and I think all these things need to be balanced. One of the things that I think makes me an ideal candidate is that I am someone who is a very good listener and a lifelong learner. And so while this would be my 1st term on the Board of Education, I am blessed and honored to be surrounded by some awesome people here that I look forward to working with to make Norwich Public School Systems, to continue Norwich Public School System on the great work that it is doing for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Ms. Charmelis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carlene Chamelis, and I like to go into descriptive when I identify myself. So I'm a Black immigrant from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And I moved to the city of Norwich at the age of 12, and I attended the Norwich Public School System and graduate of Norwich Free Academy. And I'm very excited to be here, and I am seeking my second term on the board because I believe that education is the pathways to opportunities. And in my professional life, I advocate for policies and programs to help prevent and end homelessness in the state of Connecticut. And when it comes to students experiencing homelessness, access to education and employment is something that they always identified as an important need. So I want to continue to serve my communities, and I want to continue to serve our students and to ensure that they have all of the resources that they need.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kulas.
Hi, my name's Mark Kulas. I'm a Norwich native. My family's lived in Norwich for more than 100 years. I was educated in Norwich schools K through 12. I believe that a good education is a good foundation for later success in life for all students. I'm an attorney and local businessman. I'm seeking a third term on the Board of Education. I want to see all our students reach their full potential, yet am mindful of the tax rates paid by Norwich citizens to support our schools and make sure that we keep to a strict budget. I want our schools to be safe and inviting places that our kids want to attend. I want to see more teachers of color and effective and innovative programs. I want to reduce the COVID learning gap of the past 18 months and raise our student achievement. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Satani.
No?
Your Mayor.
Flores, Mr. Flores, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Yamir Flores. I am originally from Bronx, New York. I did have the opportunity to be a student here at NFA. Now that I am grown, I have my family. I moved back here to Norwich about 5-6 years ago, and the impact that being here in Norwich, being a student, left on my life as a individual, I think it was immense, and it completely changed my life around. And now, as a parent, I want to have an active role in society. And what better way to do it than to be actively involved in the development of our children? And I think this is the best way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mr. Satani.
Hello, everyone. Kevin Satani. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. I've been on the Board of Education since 2015, and education has always been a very important part of my life. And that's one of the main reasons why, after I graduated from UConn in 2015, that I wanted to run for the Board of Education. I wanted to give students the opportunity to share the great experience of what Norwich Public Schools has to offer. And from 2015 up until now, there has been many positive changes in Norwich Public Schools, a lot of great things that happened in our district, and that's something that I want to continue to do if I have the honor to get reelected this November. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the first question is going to be answered by the first three candidates. And then, if the others want, they can have a 30-second additional response to that same question. So, this question will go first to Ms. DeStasio. So for 60 seconds, timers, this question concerns school safety. There has been controversy about school safety officers with regard to what is the best method to protect student safety. In addition to protecting students from physical aggression, more subtle bullying happens, often to the most vulnerable students. How will you be sure that all students are protected and feel safe in school? Ms. DeStasio.
Well, first aspect of that is that I believe we should have safety officers in every school. It's always, we should never wait for a tragedy to happen before we address that issue. We should be proactive. And as far as how we respond to the bullying, et cetera, I think we need more consistency into how we address those issues in the schools. Every principal, every assistant principal, all the teachers should be informed of the protocols that they should be following, and they should be dealt with that. Right now, we're struggling somewhat because we're short-staffed, but we really need consistency, and we need to address any bullying incident that comes up and remain transparent when dealing with those incidents. And safety to me is like one of the number one factors when we're dealing with it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous, so.
And the same
Thank
question
you.
to Mr. Daniels, please, for 60 seconds.
As Mrs. D'Estasio said, it is our highest priority is keeping our children safe, and that is where we all agree. I'm sure everybody can tell you that same thing. My true answer, though, is we have to start this by teaching our children to love and respect each other. And we have programs that do just that. Then you're not going to be bullying. Then you're not going to be fighting. Is this part of some pie in the sky dream? I don't believe it is. I think we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. And now, Mr. Nocera, the same question for 60 seconds.
Can I go ahead? Yeah, so safety is first and foremost number one in our schools. As a social worker, right, I've really been trying to think about not just physical safety, right, as security guards and all of that, but also our emotional safety, right? And so we really need to get back to that social emotional learning in our classrooms and really pushing, that school climate of positivity, of kindness, of respect for one another. And so how we alleviate, right, bullying and hate is by understanding each other's differences. And so absolutely I agree that we should be promoting respect and safety in our schools through social emotional learning, through our teaching, and through our culture at Norwich.
Okay, thank you. Now, would any of the other candidates like to add 30 seconds to that question? And that looks like from here, is that Mr. Aldai there? Aldai?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead for 30 seconds.
As a retired Norwich police captain from the Norwich Police Department, having served 23 plus years, we had the opportunity to have school resource officers in our schools, only in middle schools. I believe that they belong back in the schools. I believe they belong back in all the schools to give a person to those kids to go to in case they have any issues concerning their fellow students and their safety.
Thank you. And I saw another hand, I think. Mr. Satani.
Thank you, Joanne. Yes, I agree with many of my colleagues up here on stage. In addition to that, is that if there's an issue in school, the students can't be able to learn if they have to worry about their classmates bullying them and whatnot. So as the Board of Education, we should always encourage the teachers, administrators, if they see something, to say something and to hold the superintendent accountable to basically report back to the Board of Education about the issues that's happening within our school district.
Thank you very much. Now yes.
Ms.
Ms. Charmelas, yes.
I just wanted to quickly add that, I agreed with a lot of the statements that's been made, and I think that it's really important for the school systems to have behavioral response team engaged, because a lot of the issues that may be associated with bullies is behavioral issues. So we need to have those team in place, and within the Norwich Public School System, we do have that. And it's really important to have parents engage earlier on in the process.
Okay, thank you very much. And that brings us into the second question, which will go to the next three candidates for 60 seconds. So, Mr. Aldai, this question concerns parent involvement. Especially during this time, parental involvement and support is crucial to children's academic achievement. Children are likely to excel in academics when their parents actively participate in their education. Given the economic and scheduling pressures of many parents, how do you plan on involving parents in the education of their children? Mr. Aldai.
Back in the day when I was raised, most of my friends had a mom and a dad. Now going forward, a grandma, an uncle, a caretaker, a guardian. The people that take care of our children need to have contact with our schools, and our outreach program to them needs to be strong and vigilant, and know that we are there for them to help in any way, shape, or form to raise their children under their guardianship or under their care to the best of their ability.
Thank you. Mr. Perry, the same question.
All right, remember to take up my mask this time. I have a really unique perspective on this one, being a teacher at the Integrated Day Charter School. We have some unique tenets, and one of them is families as partners. So there's many things that we do to make sure that our families are involved. Before every school year, there's a home visit where the teacher goes to visit the family at their house, let them know the expectations, let them know how they can volunteer, let them know how they can get involved. And then the school's got to make those opportunities. I think that most families and most parents want to be involved in their children's education. Sometimes they don't know how, and sometimes they might not feel invited. So we need to be reaching out to them to give them invitations to school events, to come volunteer, to be in the classroom, to see the kids' research, and not just their own kids' classrooms, but just be there around the school as much as possible. I know this is difficult right now with COVID, but I think that's going to get better, and we need to start reaching out to get our families involved with everything that their students are doing.
Thank you. Ms. Charmelis, parental involvement, 60 seconds.
Just to continuing what Craig was saying earlier, communication and awareness is really important because parents really need to have a better understanding, a good understanding about what's happening in the lives of their kids while at school. And one of the things that I really want to encourage parents is to start attending some of the programmings that the schools have in place. And I know at times that there might be language barriers, and within the schools, we've been making some good ways to help reduce some of those barriers so that we can communicate with some of those parents who may have that barrier. And I think it's behoove us to really be specific in terms of like what is or asked to the parents, because people have limited capacities to do some of that work. So.
Thank you very much. Now, would any of the other candidates like to add 30 seconds to that? It looks like Mr. Daniels.
Thank you. 30 seconds. Parents, come as much as you can. Help your children as much as you can. But the most important thing you can do for your child is get them to school. You get them to school, and all the research says if you have good teachers, we can help fill that gap. Thank you.
Okay.
Good job.
And I saw another hand, I think, for that. Mr. Satani.
Yes, thank you very much. Again, I agree with everyone up on the stage. There's also the fact that the superintendent also has her weekly coffee hours where she can be able to engage with the community, with parents. So if any parents have any concerns or questions about the process of how we operate things in Norwich Public School, by all means, you could set up an appointment with the superintendent and be able to speak with her. And as a board, we'll continue to
promote that.
Thank you very much. Any others? Okay, is that Mr.
Hello.
Kulas?
Yes, okay. Yeah, I believe the way parents can get involved, most of the schools have a parent-teacher organization. You can try reaching out to them. It's especially important to read to your child every night. That's probably one of the biggest things. Getting involved directly in the schools almost is impossible right now with COVID restrictions. I mean, we as board members haven't been allowed in the schools in a year and a half, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Flores.
Yes. So our kids are our responsibility, and we are our kids' role models. So I believe that, as parents, if we can't actively participate in events that the schools are having, we can start by participating at home, by engaging in activities with them at home, homework, especially with my kids. It has a profound effect on them. We are their role models, so they look up to us and they want to make us proud of them and their academic success.
Thank you. The next question, though, will go to the last three candidates, starting with Mr. Kulas. And this has to do with teachers. Though school consolidation may reduce the number of classrooms, like the rest of Connecticut, and especially in alliance districts, there is a teacher as well as a paraprofessional shortage. Is this accurate for Norwich? And if so, how will you attract and keep qualified professionals and paras? Mr. Kulas, for 60 seconds.
Okay. Right now, education is in a crisis. Teachers and paras, we do have a shortage in the schools. We have a daily problem of even finding substitutes for our schools. It's a nationwide problem, and it's not just in education, it's widespread throughout other industries. We do involve programs of trying to recruit students of color. We're involved with several of the teaching colleges to try and get them involved so that we have a pipeline directly into our schools. And we're also offering programs. If you are a para, there are shortcuts to becoming a teacher. And we thoroughly encourage all these efforts to try and recruit the best and retain the best talent that we can.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kulas. And Mr. Flores.
Yes, so yes, I agree there's a tremendous shortage. Teachers definitely need assistance. I believe it's about 13 to 14 students per teacher in classrooms. And our teachers definitely need support from us, and they need resources. So finding the funding to get them the support they need it's what's most important right now. I think the best way to do it is to go out there and speak to them individually and see what would make the most impact in their classroom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Satani.
Yes. Again, we definitely need a lot of resources for our teachers to help educate the future minds of our public schools. And of course, in order to maintain and hire more teachers is, in addition to salaries, but also to have them be valued and to be listened. Whenever there's a problem in the classrooms, whether they need help of whatever reason it may be, they could reach out to their principal, to the superintendent. But I think that's the most important thing, is for the teachers to be valued and to be heard. And that way we could all come together to support our students and make Norwich Public Schools continue to make it a better place to educate our children now and many children to come in the future.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to? Mr. Santos? Mr. Stasio.
Unfortunately, one aspect of holding on to good teachers is salary. In past years, we've had to have teacher freezes, which have put us in an awkward position when hiring, because a teacher can get thousands more outside of our district than they will with the number of years that they've already taught within Norwich. So unfortunately, it's going to be a tough issue, but I do believe that we have to increase our salaries for our teachers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to address that? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, who's that? It's tough from this angle, seeing who it is.
Mr. Perry.
Is that Mr. Perry?
Yes, it is Mr. Perry.
Okay.
Teachers care, so I agree 100% with Mr. Sasio that we do need to increase our teachers' pay, but that's not why we do what we do. We care about our children, and we want to work somewhere where we know we're going to be valued, and we don't feel like we're banging our heads against the wall or constantly pushing a rock up a hill. If we know that we're valued, we're taken care of, and that we're respected for what we do, teachers will come to Norwich because they'll know this is a place where they can do their work to the best of their ability.
Thank you. And that looks like Mr. Nocera?
Yeah, I agree with everyone that teachers need to feel that they're important, right? That they're part of the, future for our children, and so we need to ensure, right, that they not just have a good salary, but that they, are happy to be, a part of the Norwich public school system, and so that means having, proper resources and good school to go to. And
Thank you. Okay, the next question then. Oh, no, I'm, the next question goes to the next group.
Back to the beginnings.
So this goes back to Ms. DeStasio. This is a question about history that's being discussed across the country now. At NFA, at the high school level, a new African American and Latino history class has been added to the school curriculum. How does the school system plan to implement a similar curriculum for elementary and middle school children?
Well, as most people know, this year the governor mandated that every district hire an equity coordinator. And part of her responsibilities will be developing a curriculum where all cultures will be addressed within the school system. Many times that history isn't really taught until middle school, but they already have several different multicultural activities that the kids participate in within the schools. So I do believe the issue will be being addressed, and hopefully, everyone will be happy with the result, because we do have many cultures within our city where we have a wonderful, diverse community, as you can see represented here by the members, people running for the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Daniels.
As you said, we are already in the works of providing this new curricula that the city is looking, or that the state is looking for. But it's social studies. It's stuff we're already doing. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, okay? We just have to expand our minds to what has been taught in the past. There's so much more out there, and we now have that opportunity. I'm sorry that the state had to mandate it for us to figure it out.
Thank you. And Mr. Nocera?
so I think anytime that we have an opportunity to talk about the past, both good and both positive and negative, right? It gives our students an opportunity to critically think, right? And to start thinking about the future and what does a just world look like, and what does it mean to be a good citizen. And so I, as a social worker, I really would prefer, rather than talk about race theory and that sort of thing, I'd rather them get the social, emotional skills they need to understand what it means to be kind and be a good citizen, and knowing their history and who they are as people, right? We all have similarities and we all have differences, so it's really about teaching our students to accept differences and
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to comment on that issue? Yes, that's Mr. Kulas.
Yes. All right. I'm old enough to remember the civil rights movement, and that happened over 50 years ago. Unfortunately, we seem to be reliving history. We've forgotten a lot. We have stepped over a lot of our history. We don't teach civics in school anymore, and our history has been glossed over for so many years. It's very important to bring the history of forgotten people back into our schools.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to comment on that? Yes, Ms. Sharmelis.
So one thing I wanted to note is that a couple of months ago, a group of stakeholders consisting of representative like teachers, administrators, community members, worked together on a race equity policy as well as a race equity plan. What I'm planning to do is to hold the superintendent accountable for the deliverables that we have outlined in that plan, and that includes curriculum as well. So ensuring that those components are included.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment on teaching history? Okay, the next question then goes to the next three candidates. So we start with Mr. Kulas. No, this goes to the middle three, sorry.
Mr. Aldai.
We're going to start with Mr. Aldai. And this question is, what would be your priority items as the school budget is being developed? If a program had to be cut because of budget, where would you cut?
I'm unable to answer that question right now.
You're going to pass on that question?
I'll pass on that question.
Okay, let me repeat the question then for Mr. Flores. What would be your
Perry.
Perry.
Mr. Perry.
Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry, what would be your priority items in a school budget as it's being developed? If the budget required you to cut something, what would you cut?
Well, the priority really has got to start with the students, and all the decisions that are made should be focused on how is it going to impact our students. So it's important to be able to both hire and retain good teachers and enough teachers. It's definitely awful if we'd be increasing our class sizes. That's not something that we want to do. Our students should have safe buildings that are well ventilated. They should have the best technology. I think everyone agrees that we want to give them the best educational experience possible. The second part of that question is one that I don't think I could even give a fair answer to either. I'd have to have the budget in front of me, know what the impact is going to be, talk with the people who are involved with this, the teachers, the superintendents, before I can make a decision to say, hey, let's cut this or let's cut that. But my priorities would be make sure that our students are getting the best education possible from the best staff possible.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like 30 seconds on that question?
I'm still
One more, oh my goodness. Ms. Sharmelis.
I think I should have just let you pass through, but last year we had to make some really difficult budget cuts during our process last year. And that's an experience I'm not looking forward to going to again. So instead of identifying a program, I think I'm going to switch the question and just note that as a board member, I'm going to continue to try so that we can be fiscally responsible and that we can continue to allocate the resources that we have to support our students and our staff. And so I'm just going to note it that way. So I don't want to go to that experience again. So I'm going to work on being fiscally responsible. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now would anybody like to add 30 seconds? Mr. Stasio.
As a present member of the Board of Education, as Carleen Mishamlus mentioned, it's extremely difficult when it's that time of year, which pretty much starts right at the beginning of the, as soon as we get voted in. So, but I have to say we also have an ad hoc committee now, which I am on, where we work intricately with representatives from the city council to try to find other cuts.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have to stop.
Anybody else want to talk about money? Mr. Kulas.
For many years, we were faced with extremely hard budgets and choices, closing schools, cutting programs. Luckily, in last year's budget, even with COVID, we were able to return $4 million to the city. $2.5 million we put in a revolving capital fund, and the other portion went to insurance obligations. So we have been working very hard to be fiscally responsible, and we hope to continue that fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Nocera.
Yeah, so I don't think anybody up here want to cut teachers or administration or staff or programs, right? The beautiful thing is that we do have some COVID funding coming to Norwich, so this is an opportunity rather than to talk about things that are being cut. This is an opportunity to talk about things that we can add to Norwich, and so using this COVID funding.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Go on to the next question. Okay, so now we're going to go to Mr. Kulas for the next question. How do you think that American Rescue Plan funds should be allocated from the federal government?
Yep. I got you guys.
Okay, they've essentially been allocated already. We had to come up with, the district had to come up with a plan on how to use those funds. I believe we've, over the next 3 years, some $28 million has been allocated to the Norwich districts. Our superintendent has come up with a wonderful plan. She's reinstated school sports, music, art into our schools, things that were cut during our lean years. Unfortunately, this money's going to go away after 3 years, so we have to plan very carefully in order to keep these programs going. Eventually, that responsibility is going to fall on the taxpayers or via other grants from state and federal government. But for the present time, we are basically awash in money right now for programs that were cut over many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Flores.
All right. I believe that the funds should be allocated into resources that would have the greatest impact in our schools, like programs that would help our students improve their testing scores, and any other resources that are in need currently. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Satani?
Just what I, just want to echo what Mark and Yomer just mentioned. The most important thing is our students. So with the American Rescue Plan is something that the board, in conjunction with the superintendent and her administrative staff, is to figure out what money that will best benefit our students, and of course supporting our teachers as well, so that they have those resources to teach their kids. And that should be the main focus. Mark mentioned, bring back music, athletics, art. Those are very important, and that's something that our students love to engage in, and that's something we want to keep encouraging and keep promoting and keep doing. And if there's any other programs that will, help enhance their academic success and enrichment, that's what the Board of Education should be for.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment on that? Yes, Mr. Stasio.
I just wanted to add that Dr. Stringfellow has done a wonderful job at bringing back all the things that were aforementioned. And we also, which many people couldn't believe, we didn't even have reading specialists no longer due to the lean years that they mentioned. And we now do, thank goodness.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Nocera. I think Mr. Nocera, right?
Yeah, so I noticed it's been a really, really, really tough time for families and our students and just the whole Norwich public school system. But it's also a very exciting time that we have opportunities to bring back our art and music programs, opportunity to bring interventionists into the classroom, opportunity to get more social workers, more school psychologists, more teachers. So this is a very exciting time. And, at the board, we look forward to being fiscally responsible.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, there's one question left, so instead of giving it to one group, I'm going to give this let's give 60 seconds to each person, and then they'll have their closing statements. But this last question is a national interest, really. What is there about you and your experience that would allow the Board of Education to work collaboratively across party lines for the benefit of our school system? So let's start this time with this end, and let Mr. Satani answer that one. What is there about you, what is there about your person, oh, excuse me?
I'm sorry, Ms. Wise, but could you repeat it one more time?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What is there about you or your experience that will contribute to a collegial atmosphere so that you're able to work across party lines for the benefit of our school system?
Thank you.
From my experience since 2015 when I first got on the board, what I love about whoever gets elected is that the focus is always on education, what is best for all of our students in Norwich Public Schools. And when decision making, comes about, even the hardest, toughest issues, the board will always work across the aisle to figure out ways to best support our students. There is no bitterness among the board, and I know that this will be continuing to be the case going forward, no matter what. So that's what I love about the Board of Education. We're all here sticking together for everyone.
Okay, thank you. And then Mr. Flores.
Thank you. Being a veteran of the United States Army, respect is one of my priorities, and it's one of our principles in our founding nations, freedom of expression. So I just, believe that we're all individuals trying to meet in the middle and find an answer to the problems that we're facing right now in our community, helping our children, the growth of our society, and we just have to come together and try to figure it out.
Thank you. Mr. Kulas.
My experience for the past 4 years has been that the Norwich Board of Education is one of the most apolitical groups I've ever been a part of. There is absolutely no partisanship within the group. The only time you'll see us mentioning party is now during election time every 2 years. Other than that, it's always what's best for our students. Many of our votes are unanimous, and if there is disagreement, it's on an ideological ground, not based on political party, but more on personal experience. It's always what's best for our students, and I believe we do come up with solutions, and whatever party you belong to, people have ideas, and very good ideas, on how to solve those within our group. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Charmelis.
So the work that I do, ensuring that homelessness in Connecticut is very brief in one time, it's a very complex issue. So on a daily basis, I bring different stakeholders with different agenda together on a daily basis to discuss strategies and programs and policies to address this issue. And I think that's one of the skill set that I do bring to the table, and echoing some of the comments that the individuals at this table have noted, that it's been really refreshing serving on the board where party line is not something that we have to deal with. At the end of the day, it's about our students. It's about ensuring that our students get the best education that they need to succeed. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Perry.
That's who I am. I've been an unaffiliated voter for most of my voting life. I don't really care about the D or the R. It's, the best ideas are the best ideas. I'm loving what I'm hearing tonight, and I like to be able to listen, to learn from the people who are on my side in a negotiation, against me in a negotiation. I've led union negotiations for contracts before, which are supposed to be very adverse, but I've always found a way to try to make it so that we're thinking about what we can do for the students. And I love that that's the focus of this board here. And I look forward to serving with a board that's where it is, where we're seeing all sides of an issue, because I think it's wrong when you say you see both sides of the issue, because I don't think there's two sides. We want to see all sides of an issue and then come to the best solutions possible that will serve our students in the best way possible.
Thank you. Mr. Aldai.
In keeping with the theme of the ongoing baseball series, the 9 members of the Board of Education is a team, and that's how I was how it was and still is. When I was a member of the board for 7 years, we were a cohesive team. We may agree to disagree, but in the long run, the bottom line is, what's the best result for our children? What's the best vote for our kids? And we always put that first. And I will continue to do so if I'm elected, excuse me.
Thank you. Mr. Nocera?
Bennett?
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's willingness to be cohesive and do what's best for our children, right, and for our teachers and for our students. Right, we live in a world where diversity is important now, and it's something that we need to respect. And so I'm proud to sit next to people who are not like me, who are like me, right? And so I'm really looking forward to being part of the team and just being cohesive with everyone on the board.
Thank you. And Mr. Daniels? Yep. I see you down there.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And one of the talents that I bring to the table after these 12 years of being on the board is first, being able to say I was wrong. So first, I need to apologize to Mr. Stasio for stepping on her, raising her hand a little while ago. I'm sorry about that. I look out into it, and though it's only a few faces, you kids were the ones that, you were here when I first started this job. And the fact that you're here at this point, telling me that it's almost time to shut up, is what it's all about. So all that time, it has meant something. I have learned something, and I hope to your brothers and sisters in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. DeStasio.
Well, I echo everything that's been said previous to my speaking. I have to say, my experience serving on the Board of Ed has been, it's just been such a wonderful, rewarding experience. At the time I was asked to run for the board, I had retired and I was looking for a way to give back. And luckily, I found a group of people who felt the same way about children when I joined the Board of Ed. And it's all about the kids, as they say. I hate to be cliche, but it's true. Children are the foundation of our community, and it takes a village to raise a child. Another cliche, but it's so true. But I respect everyone's opinions. Of course, I hold my own, but we have worked so well together, and we're all here for the same reason, because we care. We care. Thank you.
Thank you. And now it's time for closing statements. 60 seconds each for that. And we'll go ahead and start with you again, Ms. DeStasio.
All righty. I'm sorry. Part of this is redundant, but I just wanted to say I sincerely will do my best to share in the oversight of our school district, ensuring that all issues are addressed, transparency is maintained, which I think has improved greatly over the last 2 years, and what is best for our children is always at the forefront. As a homeowner for more than 34 years in this town, I will always seek solutions that are cost-effective, keeping an eye towards our budget and what funds are available. I just want to mention in regards to an earlier question about the hiring and retaining teachers, I just wanted to throw this out there that the superintendent does do an exit interview when a teacher is leaving our district. And unfortunately, one of the top concerns is always the money. So that is why I stressed that I feel we're at a point where we need to raise our salaries. Health benefits and the money, no matter how invested you are, you have to pay your bills.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Daniels.
Pretty much said it all in my as the last question came by. I have been here now, and there's always the opportunity to leave something especially in a group such as this, when things don't go the way you want. Believe me, I'm still not getting the system going the way I want it to go. But nobody else can fight for you the way I'm gonna fight for you. I'm for real here. Stand by me and I will make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nocera.
So as a social worker, as somebody who hard of hearing, as somebody who loved the Norwich community and students, I'm just proud to, run for the first time, and it is my goal and it's my hope that we can continue to work with the families, continue to work with our superintendent, continue to work with our teachers, continue to work with this great board to make big things happen in Norwich. I see a bright future for our students. I see a future where we have diverse teachers, where we have the resources we need, where we have the new soccer field, where we have the new infrastructure. But it's really about believing in you guys as a community and just believing in the board to
Okay.
make this happen. And I will do my best to
Thank you, Mr. Sarah.
make Norwich a great educational system it
And
is.
next is Mr. Aldai.
As a member of the Board of Education, we have one job, and one job that's very important. And that's our superintendent. And to quote the great Bill Parcells, if you want her to make the dinner, you allow her to buy the groceries. If she can't do that, you're not going to have a good dinner. Am I correct?
That's it.
That's
Correct,
it.
sir. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Aldai.
You're
And
welcome.
Aldai. Mr. Perry, or no,
Yes.
yes, Mr. Perry.
Thank you. I love this opportunity to get here and listen to all these intelligent people and to get to share my views and my opinions with all of you. I appreciate everyone who is tuning in, who is here to pay attention to this important democratic process. I want to bring myself to this job. I'm here to serve. I have been well served by this city through my lifetime, and it's time for me to give back. So I want to bring my thoughtfulness, my willingness to listen and learn, my open-minded attitude, my care for our students, for our families, for our taxpayers, and if I get the chance to, I will. I will bring everything I have to this job to do the best that I possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sharmelas.
Yes, so coming to the end of my first term, it's been a challenging as well as a humbling experience working with the group of individuals who are currently serving on the board. And I'm very proud of some of the work that we've been able to achieve thus far and some of the changes that we've made in order to make our school more inclusive and inviting, as well as putting our students first. And I want to continue some of that work. There's a lot more work that needs to be done, and I really want to focus around continuing to promote equity and diversity in curriculum, as well as educators of color, recruitment and retention, and continuing to work with my colleagues to make smart fiscal decisions. So thank you so much for your time this evening and for watching.
Thank you. Mr. Kulas.
Okay, a topic which I don't think we touched on was learning loss for our students. If COVID has taught us anything, it's that the technology, although possible for remote learning, was basically a failure. Our students are at least a year behind in reading and 2 years or more behind in math. We need the teachers and the students in classes, face-to-face learning. We need to recruit and retain the best possible teachers we can. We need community involvement to keep our kids in class, reduce our COVID numbers overall so that they stay in class. And if you're concerned about the budget at all, please vote for the bond issue. It will eventually reduce taxes. And remember, please vote for Mark Kulas, row A, on November 2nd. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Flores.
All right, well, first, I'm extremely nervous. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, but I'm doing it because it's an opportunity to give back to my community. So I just want to thank everybody who's a part of this, who made this happen. So to be completely honest, I'm just a very concerned parent. I would like to have an active role in our society, and I believe this would be one of the best ways to do it. My kids look up to me, as I mentioned earlier. I'm a role model, and what better way to do it than to lead the way? I'm here also. I want to, bridge the gap for our Spanish community. I want them to be involved in everything that's going on. we're here and our presence is being known. So I'm a voice and I'm here for you. I'm an ear and I'll listen.
Thank you. And then Mr. Satani.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to speak our minds here tonight. And thank you to the community for giving me the opportunity to serve on the Norwich Board of Education. It has been a great honor, and I've learned so much since the first time I ran in 2015. And it's something that I want to continue to do if I am honored to get the people's vote to be reelected this year. We've made great accomplishments as the current board with the hiring of the residency officer who's saved us millions of dollars, the equity director, the bus transportation director. All of this are basically creative ways for Norwich Public Schools to save money that will then be able to help our teachers and students. What other great opportunities will occur in the next board? That's something I'm looking forward to being a part of. Thank you very much.
And thanks to all the candidates. I think that if we had an audience here tonight, you would be getting a huge round of applause. So. Thank you for running. I'm not from Norwich, but from listening to you all, I think Norwich is in really good hands, and I'm really excited about your future. So I wish you all well, and make sure those listening to get out and vote on November 2nd.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.